What's up, everybody, and welcome to an impromptu NXT review in lieu of the Brass Ringers podcast this week. My co-host Gary L. Garrett actually received the news that he and his wife are having a little baby boy. So this will be their third child, so he had to start preparations in on that, so we kind of skipped the podcast this week. But as promised, I did want to at least do an NXT review to put up on the site, because I kind of like to keep my content stream kept up and kind of keep stuff coming out regularly. So without further ado, let's get into it. On the March 12th edition of NXT, Colin Cassidy and Enzo Amore started out against the Lucha Dragons. I was actually a bit surprised that when the Dragons came out, they got kind of booed a little bit. Enzo cut an entertaining promo, as if there was a surprise with that, saying that Lucha Dragons more like the Geico Lizards. It might have been kind of lame, but I got a laugh out of it. The crowd was solidly behind Enzo and Cass the entire match, with How You Doin' chants, Bonafide Stunner Certified G chants, chanting for Enzo Amore, as Enzo Amore bumped around for the Dragons for most of the match. At one point there was a spot where the Lucha Dragons went out to do a double tope to the outside to catch both Enzo and Cass actually shoved Enzo out of the way and took the brunt of the blow, saving his buddy. As Enzo and the Dragons worked their way back into the ring, the Dragons were still in control, but Big Cass came in for the save, lays out both the Dragons and pulls Enzo to the corner so he can make the tag and make Cassidy the legal man in the match. And Enzo and Cass would go over in the match to become the number one contenders with a big over-the-top where Cass lifts Enzo up over him for a splash onto one of the Lucha Dragons, and they are now the number one contenders for the NXT Tag Team titles. They've been around for a while and haven't really done a whole lot of consequence, so I'm really glad to see Enzo and Cass getting more TV time. Cass is a big dude, and he's going to kind of have to bulk back up a little bit if he wants to kind of get noticed by the main office. But I think, regardless of whatever role he's in, as long as Enzo Amore is talking, he's gonna be good to go. They then threw up a title card for Alex Riley and CJ Parker to do battle later in the evening. And they also announced that next week they will be airing the NXT taping from the Arnold Classic in Columbus that they taped last week. I believe it was last week, or the week, sometime here in the last few weeks, they did an NXT taping at the Arnold Classic, and they're going to be airing that next week. They then followed this up with a couple of packages, one on Alex Riley and one on Kevin Owens' Path of Destruction, since his arrival in NXT. Riley, and the Owens, it's like, first off, Alex Riley was never a big deal. Like, let's be honest. He got some time on Raw, he had a decent feud with The Miz, and then after that, nothing. And as far as Owens' Path of Destruction, if anybody's been paying attention over the last couple months, I mean, we really didn't need a recap on that. We finally got back to some action with Carmella up against the returning Alexa Bliss. I did have a bit of a problem here, as they had said that Alexa Bliss would be taking on Sasha Banks next week, which made me think, okay, they gave away the finish to this match. So that's awesome. Crowd was solidly against Carmella, booing her throughout the entire match. I gotta say that this was Carmella's best match in NXT so far, and I think it's just because of the opponent that she had. Because whenever I've seen Carmella wrestle before, you can tell that she's basically like brand new, but Alexa Bliss is actually really good. Bliss pulled off an impressive roll-through pinning combination for a 2 count, and right after there was an ugly drop toe hold to the second turnbuckle, and she just... The girl was out with a nose injury, and she went just face first into that turnbuckle. It looked ugly. It was just not ugly like botch ugly like holy shit that hurt ugly. We then got to see Alexa Bliss's new signature move called the Bliss Flip, and it looked really, really sloppy. However, she would follow this up with her new top rope finish, the Sparkle Splash, which was very impressive, and she would take the 3 count for the win, and it turned out, yes, they did give away the finish to this match, airing the Arnold Classic package earlier in the evening. And for the first time since I'd seen him, we cut backstage to Riley, and I was actually behind him. He cut a really, really passionate promo about wanting to wrestle, and it was like he was being locked in a cage and having to see, and not being able to eat, and seeing everyone else around him eat. And just the amount of passion and fire that he put into this promo, I'm like, maybe there is something to this Alex Riley guy, and he looks great. The guy is pretty big, pretty swolled up, so I was really impressed with this backstage promo from him. They then announce a Tyler Breeze and Hideo Itami match for later in the evening, and then we go into CJ Parker versus Alex Riley. I was actually really surprised at the reaction that Alex Riley got. The NXT crowd was solidly behind the guy. He got like a standing ovation when he came out. And you could tell in his body language and just the way that he was acting in his entrance that Riley was really happy to be back in the ring. It was a decent match overall, nothing like super special. Riley won with a night breaker, which John Morrison called the Moonlight Drive, and a top rope neck breaker. Kevin Owens would come out directly after this and cut a brief scathing promo saying that he will end Riley's career and then erase Balor's ascension afterwards. I was a little bit confused after this because Alex Riley was, I guess, overcome with emotion, but it really, the guy's standing there crying almost, it seemed like, and I was just like, I don't know if he was happy with his match or if this was supposed to be in character in line with what Kevin Owens said about ending his career, but the guy's standing there crying, and I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Why the hell is he crying? What the fuck is up with this reaction? We then got to our main event in the evening, which was Tyler Breeze up against Hideo Itami. It was a good back and forth match. I actually got a pretty good kick out of the Tyler is Ratchet chant that they started before another ad about the Arnold Classic, which I hate it when they cut the break because usually somebody will have the upper hand before the break and then you come back and then the other person has it and I'm like, well, awesome. Clearly something happened that we missed. But Breeze actually held offense through the break. Tyler Breeze at one point hit a gorgeous supermodel kick, which should be his finisher rather than that lame-ass spinning heel kick. And Itami hit Breeze with knees to the back of the head off the top rope. It just looked awesome. Shortly after this, the crowd started a GTS chant, and Tyler Breeze came out of nowhere with the beauty shot spinning heel kick for the win, which actually surprised me that they're kind of building Tyler Breeze. I'm wondering if Tyler Breeze is not in line after Finn Balor for the NXT title, for a shot at the NXT title at least. And that was your March 12th edition of NXT. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it. Next week, we will be back to our regularly scheduled program, Wednesday at 8 p.m. with myself and Gariel Garrett. And if you like the opinions that I have here on my YouTube channel, I also do a podcast called the Merlot Minute, where I wrap up on tech news of the week. That comes out every Sunday over at CelebrateGeek.com, and you can check out my Warning Incoming Rant articles there, as well as content from our other contributors. And the beginning track that you heard at the beginning there, and the one that's probably going to fade in right around now, is Left 4 Dead by Galaxy Lapse. If you're a fan of EDM, you can find him over at SoundCloud.com/Galaxy Lapse, and you can also find him at HeadyWorks.net. Until next week, keep reaching for that brass ring.